Not too long ago, a very wealthy man wanted a new yacht. Not just any yacht, the world's largest super sailing yacht, which features 3 decks, a swimming pool, a helicopter landing pad, and a kinetic-propulsion system. The massive vessel known as Y721 was built in a Dutch shipyard near Rotterdam and made headlines when it was revealed that he was considering dismantling a historic bridge to get the yacht to sea. The plan was ultimately scrapped after public outcry, and Y721 was quietly towed to a different shipyard for its finishing touches. But that's not really the strangest thing about JB's newest toy. Yeah, this JB, Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, is an insanely wealthy man who could easily hand over the $500 million in cash to pay for his mega yacht. But instead, he took out a loan to finance the build. Why would someone worth nearly $150 billion take on debt? I mean, someone call Dave Ramsey. But here's the thing. Jeff didn't go down to his local bank and apply for a loan. He took a loan from himself. That's right. He used a common technique popular with rich people, using leverage by taking on a debt against his own stock equity, so his money could continue earning compound interest instead of cashing out $500 million. Sounds wacky, right? Well, lots of financial tricks used by the wealthy are unheard of among the general population. As a finance enthusiast, even I didn't know about most of them until just a few years ago. Even if you're not planning on building a mega yacht, I want to teach you how to leverage debt into more income, just like Jeff Bezos. If that sounds like something you're interested in, stick around until the end of this video. The ideas I'm about to present can completely transform your life if applied correctly. Before we start making deals like Bezos, we need to cover the basics of using debt to increase wealth. This may seem really counterintuitive since lots of us have heard the advice that we need to avoid debt at all costs. But contrary to popular belief, not all debt is bad. Borrowing for purchases that won't appreciate in value is bad debt. Unfortunately, this is the reason most people end up in debt. Car loans, credit card debt, payday loans, and vacation loans are all examples of bad debt. You might have noticed that I didn't mention student debt, and there's a good reason for that. I'll explain this shortly, so stick around until then. Debt can be a good thing when you use borrowed money to invest in something that appreciates more than its borrowing costs. The most common borrowing cost we come across is the interest we pay when borrowing money. Leverage, the same technique Bezos used to pay for his $500 million yacht, is simply using borrowed money to increase the potential return on an investment. When you can borrow money for something that will produce a greater ROI than the interest you're paying, that's a great reason to have debt. So, how exactly can you use this technique? I've got 5 ways. Before I dive into each one, I just want to say that while many smart investments cost money up front, investing in your knowledge by watching my videos costs exactly $0. So, why not subscribe for regular updates on financial and investing tips and tricks to improve your own life? With that shameless self-promotion out of the way, here's the first way to leverage debt. Have you ever looked at people who own multiple properties, whether it be commercial spaces, vacation rentals, or long-term rentals, and wondered how they were able to purchase all those properties? Many of them probably seem like the average Joe, with a normal paying 9-to-5 job just like everyone else. Nothing too crazy. So, during a time when most people can barely buy one property, how do these middle-class people buy so many? Their secret is leveraging debt like the wealthy. And you can do the exact same thing. The first way you can leverage debt to create wealth is by tapping into your home's equity. If you bought your house years ago and have been making your full mortgage payments regularly, chances are you've built a substantial amount of equity in your home. Maybe it's almost fully paid off, and this is a huge opportunity to grow your wealth. You can use your home to build another income stream. Your primary home continues to appreciate in value, and so does your second property. One way to tap into the equity in your home is to use a home equity line of credit, or HELOC. A HELOC is a set amount of available cash that can be used at the account holder's discretion and repaid over time. It works much like a credit card, but has a substantially lower interest rate on outstanding balances. A HELOC could allow you to access cash for a down payment on a second property, or use for repairs on an investment you purchased. Unlike a loan, a HELOC always allows you to withdraw cash in smaller lumps as needed. So, if you have a repair project you're working on slowly, you don't have to pull out $20,000 in equity all at once. You can withdraw it and work toward paying it back simultaneously to avoid paying interest on the entire amount. Another way to use debt as leverage with the equity you have in your home is to obtain a home equity loan. A home equity loan comes as a lump sum of cash. It's an option if you need the money for a one-time expense, like a down payment on a second property or a major renovation. These loans usually offer fixed rates, so you know precisely what your monthly payments will be when you take one out. Here's an example of how to use home equity to leverage debt in your favor. Let's say you have a rental property that needs some cosmetic upgrades. You use a HELOC to put $10,000 of cosmetic improvements into the property. Maybe you redo the floors and get it painted to look fresh. Then you can have the home reappraised when the market in your area improves. Your property is reappraised at that time for $100,000 more than you bought it for. You can use the new appraised value to refinance your mortgage for $300 a month less and access $35,000 in new HELOC funds to use as a down payment on another property to rent. Yes, you are taking on more debt with each withdrawal from your HELOC, but your return on investment from what you are doing with that money far outweighs the interest rate you are paying. You can then, theoretically, replicate the same scenario on your new property. This simple strategy can build you a real estate empire. A much simpler way to use leverage to your advantage and produce more wealth is by tackling your inefficient debt. Inefficient debt is all those things we talked about earlier, like random stuff you buy with your credit cards. It's the kind of debt that you're paying a high interest rate on and earning no return, so it's basically throwing money away. And if you're only making the minimum payments on bad debt, chances are you're wasting thousands of dollars each year while getting no closer to fully paying down all your debt. In this case, taking on more debt to pay off the bad debt will help you pay down high interest rate balances quickly, and then pay off that same amount of debt at a much lower interest rate. Let's say you have a credit card with a $10,000 balance and a 24% APR, but you qualify for a $10,000 personal loan with a 9% interest rate. By using the personal loan to pay off the credit card debt and then paying off the loan using the same amount you were putting toward your credit card each month, you can save thousands of dollars in interest. If you have multiple credit cards with a revolving statement balance, using a personal loan to pay them all off also allows you to reduce the number of payments you have down to just one. Not only will you save money on interest, this technique will make managing your finances a lot easier. And you can revert back to strategy number 1 to use a home equity loan or a HELOC to pay off higher interest debt too. The key to this way of leveraging debt is to compare all of your lending options to find the one with the best rate and lowest fees. Before talking about the next strategy, I want to talk about why I didn't include student debt in the bad debt bucket. That's because it depends. With the criteria for bad debt being how much return you get on your loan, student debt can be a true blessing for a lot of people. If you're taking on debt to pursue an education in something that leads to high-paying jobs, such as a doctor or engineer, chances are you'll make a lot of money down the line, be able to pay off the debt quickly, and enjoy a high-earning career for life. But if you study underwater basket weaving, well, you'll probably end up working a job that's completely unrelated to what you studied. So you basically threw away your money and wasted years of your life. Sorry if that sounds harsh, but that's just the truth. Sometimes taking on debt to avoid a negative financial situation is the smartest way to protect and grow your wealth. This third strategy of leveraging debt is best used when you have an unavoidable large payment that would drain too much of your liquid cash or force you to sell money-making assets. As much as we try to prepare for unexpected expenses and avoid situations like this altogether, even wealthy people find themselves in scenarios that require some fast thinking to dodge bad outcomes. For example, let's say you were surprised with a large tax bill and don't have the cash to pay it. One option would be to sell off some assets in your portfolio to pay the bill. But that route means pulling money out of sources that are actively generating wealth for you. A better solution would be to take out a loan to pay the tax bill if the interest rate on the loan is lower than the ROI on the assets you would have to sell. Obtaining a personal loan, a home equity loan, or another source of low-interest borrowed funds so that you can avoid outcomes that will affect your wealth generation plan is a smart way to use debt to your advantage. This technique can save you thousands of dollars across so many situations. Once you get comfortable with shopping for the best rates and know your returns on your investments like the back of your hand, it becomes easy to see where debt can be deployed to your benefit. Let's consider a hypothetical scenario. Your home sustained water damage that is covered by your homeowner's insurance, but the claim will hike your insurance rate for the next 5 years since you have a previous claim on your policy. If that rate hike will result in a higher financial burden than using a small loan to pay for repairs, you can skip the claim and pocket the difference over the next few years. One thing rich people love to do with debt is to use it to build an entirely new stream of income or expand on existing streams of income. You can use this same technique with your own business. This is how people end up owning multiple franchise locations, expanding their business product line, and doing a massive increase in hiring across their businesses. The traditional Dave Ramsey-approved approach to launching or expanding a business would be to save until you can pay in cash or to find investors to fund it without tapping into your own money. But saving on launching or expanding a business can take years, and during that time, you are not generating any of the additional income that will come with your launch or expansion. And bringing investors on board means you're handing control of your business to others and will be responsible for paying them back from your profits, sometimes forever. Instead, you can borrow against your own assets for a lower interest rate and start building or expanding your business right away, just like Jeff Bezos did to buy his yacht. Let's look at an example. Let's say you own a business with consistent profits and you're set on opening a second location in an even more lucrative market. In one scenario, you save for the expansion. For years, you are not only using your current profits to build savings for the second location, but you are also missing out on all the new profits from the expansion. Instead, you could take out a home equity loan or a portfolio line of credit, also known as a margin loan, to fund the expansion. Within months instead of years, you're generating additional income that allows you to pay back your loan while you make a huge return on your investment. Though not for the faint of heart or newbie, taking out debt like a small business loan may be the most efficient way to get your business where it needs to be to begin producing greater returns. But perhaps the most well-known and highly divisive way the rich leverage debt is by using it to avoid paying taxes. Jeff Bezos didn't pay income tax from 2016 to 2018, and Warren Buffett paid only $23.7 million in taxes between 2014 and 2018, despite his wealth increasing by $24.3 billion during that time. First, when it comes to non-salary related income, only profit is taxed. That means that while you can report a very high revenue at the end of the year, you can also offset the amount of taxes that you owe by reporting a very high total amount of expenses. Let's take the example of Jeff Bezos, who, in 2007, paid $0 in federal income tax, according to ProPublica's investigation. That year, Amazon's stock nearly doubled, and Bezos reported $46 million in income, mostly from interest and outside investments. That entire amount was offset by various expenses. Second, when it comes to stocks, you only pay taxes on a stock once you sell it, a capital gains tax on the profits. But billionaire tech giants hold onto their stock. This is called unrealized gains, and Silicon Valley fortunes are built on them. But the ultra-wealthy aren't the only ones who can use debt to avoid paying taxes. When you sell assets at an appreciated position, you could be stuck with a capital gains tax or a higher income tax bracket. But you can borrow against your own investments to free up cash, while leaving the appreciated assets alone to keep making you, well, more cash. This strategy avoids triggering a tax event since you haven't sold anything. Your assets keep growing, you have cash in hand, you're paying back your loans at a lower interest rate than your ROI, and you're not paying a dime in taxes while doing all this. Win, win, win. Using debt to grow even richer is just one of the things that the rich do to grow their wealth. But don't do something only because you see rich people doing it, because sometimes rich people can give horrible advice. Check out my video about why you shouldn't take financial advice from the ultra-wealthy. I'm sure you'll love it.